Number 10. Lana Vinico. Lana Vinico is an advisor to the Dark Council, and she later became the head of the Imperial Intelligence. She discovered the treachery of a Dark Council member, Darth Arcus, who was working for the Order of Revan. She participated in the assassination of Darth Arcus and was subsequently termed a traitor to the Empire. However, she eventually exposed the Order of the Revanites and participated in the defeat of the resurrected Darth Revan. Vinico often corroborated and worked alongside Republic spy Theron Shan. Together they became core members of the resistance to the Eternal Empire of Zakul. Number 9 is Darth Jadis. Darth Jadis was a member of the Dark Council and second in command to the Emperor himself. He was also the Sith head of Imperial Intelligence. He spearheaded the counter-unit to the Eagle terrorists who were threatening the Empire's hold on Dromund Kaas and Balmorra. After a bombing on Kaas City by the Eagle terrorists, Darth Jadis was presumed dead. However, an Imperial agent codenamed Cypher 9 discovered that Jadis had faked his own death. In fact, Darth Jadis was actually the leader of Eagle, and he used the terrorist organization to enact his own reforms of the Sith Empire. His fate remains undisclosed. He was either bested and killed by Cypher 9, or Cypher 9 joined him in his efforts to reform the Sith Empire. He may also have left to fight the Sith Emperor after learning of his plans to consume all life in the galaxy. Jadis' fate is influenced by the choices made during the Imperial Agent storyline in Star Wars The Old Republic. Number 8 is Darth Malak. Darth Malak's homeworld was attacked by the Mandalorians, and thus Malak became a Jedi Knight in the hopes of ending the Mandalorian War. Alongside Revan, Malak defied the orders of the Jedi Council numerous times, and he eventually defeated Mandalore the Ultimate. However, he was turned to the dark side by the Sith Emperor along with Revan. He became the apprentice of Darth Revan, and together they assumed control of the Starforge, an ancient weapon of the Rakata, and they waged war against the Republic. Malak eventually betrayed Revan, and in an intense fight, Malak's entire lower jaw was removed by a lightsaber strike from Revan. This forced Malak to wear a large prosthetic for the rest of his life. Malak was eventually defeated by a Jedi strike team, which included Revan himself. Number 7 is Darth Simas. Darth Simas dueled Marka Ragnos for the Sith throne. Simas was decapitated during the battle, however he used the dark side of the Force to survive. Despite having no body, he trained a young Naga Sadow in the ways of the dark side of the Force. Simas even grew to become a well-respected member of the Dark Council. However, he was eventually assassinated by his apprentice, Naga Sadow, with a Republic blaster. Simas' death was used by Naga Sadow as justification for the beginning of the Great Hyperspace War. Number 6 is Marka Ragnos. Marka Ragnos is considered as the greatest Dark Lord of the Sith in the Old Republic era. He was a master manipulator who succeeded in consolidating his power by pitting the other Sith Lords against one another, thus ensuring there were no threats to his throne. His death marked the end of the Golden Age of the Sith Empire. Ragnos never truly died, and he lived on as a Force ghost, where he was almost fully resurrected twice. Number 5 is Darth Nilles. Darth Nilles is also known as the Lord of Hunger because he survived the activation of the Mass Shadow superweapon during the Mandalorian Wars, which caused him to crave Force energy. Nihilus' craving for Force energy developed to the point where he had to encase himself in a mask and armor to survive. He is responsible for the beginning of one of the greatest and largest Jedi purges, on the scale of Order 66 by Darth Sidious. Nihilus' purge almost led to the extinction of the Jedi Order. Number 4 is Darth Malgus. When Darth Malgus was a young boy, he had a special connection to the dark side. He killed his father's Twi'lek servant and thus was sent to Dromund Kaas to train as a Sith. Ironically, when he was on expedition in Geonosis, he fell in love with a Twi'lek, and they both fought side by side in the Great Galactic War. They can also be seen fighting together in the Star Wars The Old Republic Deception trailer. Malgus led the successful recapture of Korriban and led an almost successful assault on Alderaan. However, he was defeated in single combat by Grandmaster Satele Shan. In retaliation, Malgus sacked Coruscant and attacked the Jedi Temple, killing numerous Jedi Masters. He massacred over half of the Jedi High Council. However, when a peace was brokered between the Empire and the Republic, Malgus killed his own lover to strengthen his dark power, and systematically killed many Imperial politicians who had negotiated the treaty. Once the Sith Emperor was presumed dead, he attempted a takeover of the Empire, but he was defeated by an Imperial strike team. Although presumed dead, he was actually captured, frozen in carbonite, and presented as a gift to Valkorion, the immortal Emperor of Zakuul. Number 3 is Darth Marr. Darth Marr was a promising Sith Lord who was able to become a member of the Dark Council. He ultimately rose to become the sole commander of the Imperial military. He was unequivocally the best defender of the Empire. He distanced himself from the eternal feuding of the Sith, and he led numerous successful Imperial missions on the planets of Ziost and Makeb. When the Eternal Empire of Zakuul arrived to destroy both the Empire and the Sith, Darth Marr made a final stand against Emperor Valkorion, who was also the Sith Emperor Vitiate, where he was struck down and presumably killed. Number 2 is probably one of the most famous Jedi Knight and Sith warrior in Star Wars lore. He is Darth Revan. Revan was trained as a Jedi Knight, and he was instrumental in the defeat of Mandalore the Ultimate, which ended the Mandalorian Wars. However, he was later turned to the dark side after falling prey to the manipulation of the Sith Emperor. Revan, alongside his childhood friend Malak, waged war against the Jedi, which began the Jedi Civil War. However, Revan was captured by the Republic, and his mind was wiped. Revan once again became a Jedi Padawan, and coupled with the Republic strike force, Revan defeated Malak. Revan then raised an army of exterminator droids, and embarked on a campaign to destroy the Sith Emperor who had manipulated him. However, Revan was defeated by an Imperial strike team. Years later, Revan raised another army by taking control of the Fanatic Order of Revan, with the same goal of waking the Sith Emperor and defeating him for good. In an attempt to prevent the Sith Emperor's return, a joint force of Republic and Sith leaders successfully defeated Revan. However, the Sith Emperor awoke and consumed all life on the planet Ziost in order to regain his strength and power. Interestingly, Darth Bane, the creator of the Rule of Two philosophy, used a Revan holocron and employed Revan's teachings to create the Rule of Two. At number 1 is the ominous and immortal Sith Emperor Vitiate. At the age of 10, Vitiate defeated his father, who was the Sith Lord of his home planet. Marka Ragnos was so impressed with the young boy, he allowed him at the age of 13 to become the Sith Lord of the planet, which Vitiate renamed as Nethenma. After the defeat of the Sith during the Great Hyperspace War, Vitiate returned to his home planet of Nethenma, where he gathered the remaining 8,000 Sith Lords who had survived the war. Under the guise of offering them protection from the Republic, he performed a ritual which consumed all the Sith Lords, as well as the entire planet's population, making him immortal. After this point, he began to call himself the Immortal Sith Emperor. In an effort to rebuild the Sith Empire, he gathered the scattered survivors of Naga Sadow's army and embarked on a 20-year journey into the unknown regions, where he established the Empire's stronghold on Dromund Kaas. There he delved deep into the dark side and gained immense power. Vitiate's presence on Dromund Kaas began to alter the atmosphere and civilization on the planet itself. The weather remained in a permanent state of rain and thunderstorm, and certain members of the population became possessed by dark forces. Vitiate is responsible for 3 of the largest wars in Star Wars lore. He manipulated the Mandalorians into attacking the Republic, thus beginning the Mandalorian Wars. When the Mandalorians were defeated by the Republic, Vitiate turned 2 great Jedi Knights, Revan and Malak, to the dark side and manipulated them into attacking the Republic. This began the Jedi Civil War. When Vitiate was still a young Sith Lord, he is responsible for repairing the Sith Empire after the defeat of Naga Sadow in the Great Hyperspace War. This new rebuilt Sith Empire would eventually fight the Republic in the Great Galactic War. Without Vitiate, the Sith Empire would have been destroyed forever. After a joint force of Republic and Imperial leaders consistently attempted to hunt down and defeat the Sith Emperor, he retreated into wild space, where he returned as the Eternal Emperor of Zakuul with an army that destroyed both the Empire and the Republic.